Welcome to The Lowdown, the newest podcast from Belden Communications, hosted by yours truly, Wayne Belden, president of Belden Communications, and co-hosted by my son, John Belden, vice president of Belden Communications. Listen on the first Friday of each month to The Lowdown as John and I chat and get candid with those in the know about the hottest issues affecting all of us in Volusia and Flagler Counties. We'll sometimes get loud and sometimes hilarious, but always educational and informational about the challenging aspects of issues facing us all. Which topics will we cover and who will be our guests? You'll just have to listen to find out. You can hear our podcast on your favorite podcast app on the first Friday every month at 2 p.m. Be sure to tune in because whatever topic we're covering, we'll be giving you The Lowdown. And welcome to the beautiful Port Orange Pavilion where we're at today, live, overlooking the beautiful Halifax River. And with us is our guest, our mayor, Don Burnette, who was very gracious in accepting our invitation to come and discuss some of the issues affecting our life here in Port Orange. And with me also is my son, John. John, how you doing?
Very good. Happy Friday to you. Good way to be spending the day here on the water, talking to the mayor, and enjoying our Friday, right?
Absolutely.
As long as the breeze keeps up.
That's
as
right.
long as the breeze keeps up.
It's always breezy.
And also with us and producing our show is our wonderful producer, Phil Bird. Phil, how you doing, buddy?
Everybody. Today I am the actual Halifax River, so no camera on me, camera on the beautiful river. So if you're watching right now, that is what you see, the beautiful Halifax River.
That's the setting, right? For those of you that are maybe not live here, it's time to move here.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So, Mayor, let's get right into it. We've got all kinds of questions about the purchase of the Riverwalk and Fish Restaurant, and where are we today with that?
Terrific question that has multiple parts to it, so I'll try to lay it out with what you see right now in the center section. You know, the northern section of Riverwalk is the park, the 10-acre park, and everything that we developed and opened up just a few years ago. The center section, Halifax River Partners owns that. That's where they've been talking for a couple decades now about building condominiums and the like. They own that, but Finally, we're seeing the development come out of the ground of what will be the largest restaurant in Volusia County, Fish Restaurant. They expect to be open mid to late July sometime. And yes, this year.
This year.
Oh, wow.
This year.
It's not going to be like the Orlando eyesore on I-4 there.
Well, and it's been a long time in coming because their economic incentives, they came before council looking for an extension last fall, and we granted it to them. I asked them, I said, you're asking for 6 months. Is this enough time? Well, we really only need 4. And I'm like, are you sure? Because this is it. You got to have deadlines. And we've already dragged this out long enough. And I know COVID and things like that. Giving all of everything going on, I think council will be reasonable and extend the economic incentive, and we did. And March came and went, and still no building. Although they changed contractors and finally picked up progress and a lot of steam, and I'm happy to see that. They're going to do okay even without the economic incentives. I'm sure because without them, that would have been nice for them, and certainly it's good to see something come out of the ground in their section. Now, that's Fish. They've done a lot in the center section. They've got a very large parking area that they've already taken care of. They've extended the Robert E. Ford Trail from Riverwalk Park down to Herbert Street. That was them that did that for us as part of the agreement. So they've done a fantastic part of that. Now we get into the southern third between Dunlawton and Herbert Street. The city owned most of those parcels, and we had acquired a couple of blocking parcels, and that has kept really for any real agreement from happening. So we were able, after 2 decades, acquired some of those. I should say I'm going to give the credit to and brainchild to our city manager, Wayne Clark. He came on. He's got a lot of economic development experience, and he's like, instead of us trying to figure out what we want and putting out an RFP, a request for proposal, and seeing if anybody bites or this or that or not. See what he says. Why don't we just put it out there and let people tell us what they can build?
Of course.
Because companies know whether they can make money or not, and then they can pitch the proposals to us. And we had 6 very large corporations that develop all sorts of projects from all over the United States come and make a long, lengthy. It was a nice 6-hour council meeting, listening to all the
only 6 hours.
But
That's it.
and it required a little bit of caffeine because
Right.
most of us work all day and then we go do
Right.
that in the evening. And
Right.
but the caffeine was well worth it because Bristol Development came forward. Bristol is going to cut a $9 million check to the city to buy our parcels down there.
Nice.
Now I know they're down there. We don't, like I said, don't own anything. They're trying. We don't own everything, so they're down there trying to pick up the remaining parcels so that they can improve on the project. But what they're going to be developing is kind of a mixed-use residential component with a commercial element. You'll have some sort of a downtown feel as you pull in through the Herbert Street entrance. They'll extend the Riverwalk Trail all the way down to Dunlawton, but you'll see some shops and restaurants where people can come down and enjoy the water. Really was a terrific proposal, but even before they break ground. Now, it becomes real to people when they see something.
Right. Right.
But even before that happens, after 2 decades, we've got properties that we've had almost $5 million in debt we're still carrying. So we've been paying $250,000 of debt service out of the general fund every year for those properties.
Wow.
That debt's going to go away. That debt service is going to go away. Oh, and by the way, those properties are now going to be back on the tax rolls. So
Wow, that's
Generating
good.
money.
before anything is built there, now they're revenue producing again.
Perfect.
So we're expecting in the next 9 to 12 months, as they acquire everything they need and they figure out and engineer it all, we'll see probably ground broken in the next 9 to 12 months. Now, I kind of poked Charles a little bit, and I told him, I said, listen, I'm looking forward to this. I love groundbreakings, but I love ribbon cuttings even
Right.
more.
that's
Right.
That's where
Right.
it counts, right?
That's it.
Right.
And I told him I have a date in mind. I said, December 8th of 2024 is my last day in office. So anything before that where we can cut a ribbon,
Right.
and what happens. I get it. And that's a large project.
Right.
It's going to be built in phases and pieces. It's not like they're going to build everything all at once. It's just not how you do that. But all the same, I'm looking forward to that. It's already a big win even before we break ground. So.
Right.
I mean, just to see the transformation. I'm born and raised here my whole life, and just to see what used to be in these certain areas and what's coming, and it's just, it's definitely been, it's being revitalized, and it looks like it's going to be the spot to be, right?
Well, I love it because we've got a lot going on the east side of the river as well, in the Port Orange Down Under area. Millie's Landing is coming. They'll be redeveloping an area on the other side of the bridge. We've already added Jimmy Hula's, Dunes Brewery down there. The city is going to be looking at what we can do to improve that parking area. Now, let's face it, there's only so much you can do when you got finite space and a lot of people in there.
Right.
We're going to do the best we can with it, but we're also going to beautify it and improve the drainage and things down there. There will probably be some creative solutions between the commercial enterprises. They're already talking about what a water taxi would look like running between the marina at Fish and the marina at when Millie's Landing opens, and what that. So. And I'm sure that there'll even be some off-site parking things. But as you see development on this side, you'll see it feeds itself. We've already seen redevelopment, a long-standing lot where they sold trailers out of on the border of Port Orange, South Daytona, right over the border in South Daytona. That's a luxury apartment complex now. That changes the demographics of an area, and all those things feed off each other. So I'm not just looking about. Certainly, it'd be great to have a wonderful project here on the river where people can come and enjoy it. I want that. That's first and foremost. But other things will feed off of this up and down the avenue. So that's what you're talking about, the recreation. It's easy to build west and work off a blank canvas.
Right.
And we got builders and developers. We're close to build out now, but we've got builders and developers that have been doing that for a long time. But recreating and reinventing and taking advantage of what you see behind me here.
Yeah.
This is the gold. This is where, this to me is the people forget about it. Sometimes it's like, this is Port Orange to me. This is what I saw growing up, much like you.
Mm-hmm. Money shot right
Right. You know, there's been a lot of questions that people have written in. We've put out on Facebook and other platforms. If you've got any questions, forward them to us, and we'll ask the mayor. And one of those is all of a sudden the popping up of all of these apartment complexes, and and the question is, when is it going to end? That's what they're asking.
Well, you're not talking just about a Port Orange problem. You're not just talking about a Volusia problem. It's a Florida problem. It's a national problem, because right now, and to be honest with you, I'm slightly concerned because of the cost of housing. We're about 6.6 million housing units short of what we need to house everybody in the United States. And I'm talking about people that have the ability to pay rent, pay mortgage, and things like that, which even that's changing with the price of things.
Right.
And what's going with rents. So it's it's in very high demand right now.
Well, that was one of the branching off that question when they were talking about the apartments. Is they said, look, these apartment complexes not only being built, but they're being luxury apartments, and the prices of them are out of sight. So what can we do to get affordable housing in place, and to make it where people can afford to live somewhere? Because you're getting to that point where we're running out of inventory, like you're saying, and people are in situations where they've been living in a house for 5-6 years, renting it, and the homeowner decides, I'm going to sell it, and they're homeless because they got nowhere to go. They got a family of 3 or 4, and you're looking at $2,000-$3,000 a month for an apartment.
That's awful.
If building, there's a couple of arms and legs to that, but if building and construction stopped right now in the United States, we would have families that are fully employed at the median income level that would become homeless.
Yeah.
We're not talking about people without a job or choose to not have a job or down on their luck or anything like that. I'm talking about 2-income families or more that won't be in homes if we continue like this, because what happens? It's just
so what's
simple,
the solution to
straight
that,
economics, supply and demand. The solutions, well, some of them are painful. One of the things that you could just build the heck out of everything, and that in itself is not an answer, because houses, apartments, all those things are housing units. They add up to the stock, but just because you have what you need. Now, I understand a businessman is not going to build something less than what he thinks he can fill.
Right.
They're in it to make money as well, and why would they want to make less than they possibly could? If they're going to build these apartments, quote unquote luxury apartments, I'm not sure what the standard is that makes them luxury or not. Other
they
than
slap the name of the building.
Yeah. Okay, they're new, so they must be luxury apartments. We can charge a couple $100 more that way. I don't know the answer to that. But as far as people, we need it's a tough sell, because now we need to look at the Sadowski Fund in Florida. Highly underutilized. Every time somebody buys a home in Florida, part of the taxes that they pay on those purchases are allocated to the Florida Sadowski Fund. And I would like to see those dollars spent better to help people in the lower income brackets, and might even be pretty soon mid-income brackets, not be homeless.
Right.
You really don't want people spending more than a third of their income on housing.
Right.
Because you could have house, a car payment, and a couple other bills. Heaven forbid a medical event happen, or anything unexpected.
I'm sorry, and I know times are changing and but I don't care what day and age it is. When you have to spend over $2,000 a month for an apartment, that just does not seem realistic to me. And forget about
and how does a young family save for a down payment that way?
Right.
You can't.
Right. And how do you pay for kids' college?
I mean, I don't care what income level you're at. It's just like, okay, we got to find out a better solution because again, I always looked at it as apartments are supposed to be temporary. I didn't look at that as a forever thing. And
now, even that's changing a little bit, because some people like to leave more than ever live mobile lives, and I think that's what we're seeing with this this newest generation. The young people want to be able to leave in a drop of a hat, and if they're tied to a mortgage versus a home ownership, so that's a choice, and that's part of the equation and market trends. But when you have a young family, we're trying to tell people, hey, you should have 6 months savings for an emergency.
Sounds nice, right?
Wow.
Sounds nice.
How am I going to do? You need to plan for your future. You need to plan for your retirement. You need to plan for your kids' college. Just a little bit of money in a 529 or the Florida prepaid plan.
Yeah.
Great plans. And what are you going to do? And now the groceries cost 18% more than they did
I'm
last
trying to
year.
plan how I'm going to buy groceries this week. That's what I'm worried about, right? That's what some of these people are thinking. It's like,
Yeah,
how,
exactly.
it's not
I'm
realistic.
I'm worried about today.
Right.
With my current paycheck or my current 2 or 3 paychecks.
Right, because I work in 2-3 jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, you mentioned being a businessman, and I'm a businessman, and right now we got to pay a couple of bills. Today's podcast is brought to you by Riverside Pavilion in Port Orange, Florida. John, you want to tell our listeners about our sponsor?
Absolutely, guys. Riverside Pavilion is near and dear to my heart, as you know, Dad, because actually I had my wedding reception here back in 2008.
You did?
I did. Beautiful
Aw.
spot.
Right
It's
here.
Centrally located on the banks of the Halifax River here in Port Orange. Riverside Pavilion is a privately owned banquet facility that provides indoor and outdoor rental space, creating the perfect backdrop for your special occasion. And when booking Riverside Pavilion for your wedding reception, birthday party, corporate event, and more, you have spaces at your disposal to choose from, such as an 1,850 square foot banquet room, more than a 1,500 square foot deck that we're sitting on here today, and an additional 60 square foot room if needed. Many amenities and pieces of equipment included with your rental space, such as blue padded banquet chairs, round and rectangle tables, high cocktail tables, a podium, 2 bar areas, and much, much more. Bottom line is, guys, you got everything you need and more here at Riverside Pavilion. So call now, 386-761-8122, and visit riversidepavilion.com to book your reservation now. And if you're looking for an event space with an amazing view and amenities to make your event simple and stressless, call Riverside Pavilion now. Don't wait till last minute because it books up fast. So go ahead
Right,
and
it
give
sure
them a call.
does. This is a beautiful
Yeah,
venue right here, looking out at this water and everything.
I mean, you got fishing right over here to
Oh, this-
adjacent to my left, and we had our wedding reception here, and it was a perfect spot, perfect venue. The bar, the food, everything was fantastic.
Plenty of parking.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yep.
Let's get back into our conversation. You mentioned the Down Under district. What other developments are going to be taking place over there?
Well, I talked about Millie's Landing.
Right.
We'll hopefully see them breaking ground real soon, and that's the newest and the latest. You've seen other businesses already come forward. Dunes just opened up last fall. Microbrewery is
a
all
hot
the
trend,
rage.
right?
All the rage. I wouldn't know anything about.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
no, not at all.
You know,
I've seen you doing karaoke. I'm thinking there's
Yeah.
a microbrewery in there
I
somewhere.
don't know what you're talking about, but
Yeah.
But you've got that's gone on there, and Jimmy Hula's. We actually just passed an ordinance that are going, because of where they are in approximation of the bridge, giving them an exception to have rooftop signage if they so
Okay.
choose. I'm very, because for so long Port Orange has been strict about signage.
Yes.
And we were one of the first cities to monument signs only, and everybody hated it business-wise. And then when they saw what it did, hey, we got great curb appeal.
100%.
And people can find us. Other cities have replicated that over the years. So when we step out of our box a little bit,
Yeah, it's not
I
easy.
always, I get a little tense, but I think that's something that makes sense. That bridge wasn't there when those businesses were.
Right,
It was a
right. I
smaller
remember
bridge.
that.
In '93, it was built, and we need to adapt, and we need to be business friendly. So, and then the city itself is going to invest a lot in the aesthetics down there. We'll be seeing that in the next few years. And wouldn't you love to see some nice murals down there with some great lighting?
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
That would be
At
fantastic.
night, it's always nice to see the bridge lit nicely in the decor. Am I crazy, or did we have a drawbridge here many years ago?
It was a drawbridge.
It
Yes.
was a
Yep.
drawbridge. Right, that's what I thought.
And the reason why it's no longer there is because it was a drawbridge.
right, it was.
Every time a sailboat went up or
Stop.
came north or south, everything would stop.
Yeah, I remember when they built this thing. I thought it was a monster. It's like, well, look how big that.
My dad would do the coolest thing when we were small kids. When we get stopped at the drawbridge, instead of just sitting in the car going, ugh.
Right.
He'd get us out of the car and we'd walk to the railing and watch the bridge go up and watch the boats go through. And it's you're gonna be there for a few minutes, and then he'd shuffle us back in the car or whatever. And It actually, instead of being a drudgery, it became an event.
Something to look forward to.
We're going to Grandma's house. I'm hoping we hit the drawbridge,
Right?
And he's hoping not. But
Right.
of course,
You do the same thing for trains. You don't get out and get near it, right?
Yeah, not so much. Not so much. But that old drawbridge brings back a memory or two for me because of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, let's move further inland here a little bit and tell us about the completion of the new rec center.
Running a little behind, but it'll be open by the end of the year.
Beautiful.
The rec center, or what we're going to call the rec, our basketball gymnasium and expanding. You want to be able to see anybody come in. I don't care whether they're age 8 or age 80 and have an activity going on. Mm-hmm. Art House is going to be moving in there. They're going to be adding programs and the like. We will have a beautiful indoor playground, which will be special needs friendly as well. A lot to look forward with that. There'll be an upstairs perch, which I'm looking forward to seeing what the view is like there, especially maybe for 4th of July fireworks. But
cool.
Looking forward to that opening later this year. We've been in need of a large-scale community center, and I really would like to see this be the first of a couple. I'd really like to see one in and around the Water's Edge area. And I know it's a process. This one took a couple of decades as it is, but we're finally making it happen. But I'd like to see something on the west side of town, too, maybe not quite to this scale, but we've got a lot of families out there. And when you put things in neighborhoods and close to people, that actually takes traffic off the road.
Yeah, we need that.
So, people say, "Oh man, you're building this here close to me." I'm like, "Well, actually, it's not me. It's whoever owns it. Property rights are kind of ingrained in our Constitution." And people complain about, what this, as they walk into the Wawa and get their cup of coffee, and they're complaining about all the new things.
I like Wawa, so that was a good one there, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, I get it. I grew up here too, and it kills me when I see natural areas go away, and people say, "Well, all in the name of progress." I don't necessarily think it's progress, but it is a necessary component. And I kind of kid around. I'm half serious when I say it. Quit telling all your friends up north what a wonderful, great place Port Orange is to live.
That's exactly right.
But the secret is out. That's what it is. If you have a high-quality community, people want to live there.
Right.
I do.
And
it's true.
I live in Orlando,
we
so
make those choices.
I come here to work, and I think this place is amazing. I tell John every day. The people that I've encountered with are great.
The quality of life, the schools, everything here.
Right.
And that's why,
we've got 10 Volusia County schools of the almost 80 they have. Those 10 schools, 6 elementaries, 2 middles, 2 highs, are among the highest rated in Volusia County.
Yep.
So you got room for 3 more?
3 more schools?
3 more people.
Oh, 3 more people, yeah. Well, I know somebody. Come on over here.
Yeah, we got some pull. Yeah. Let's address the great big white elephant in the room, traffic.
Yeah.
Okay, the biggest problem, Dunlawton, out by 95, Lowe's, all of that.
The biggest thing that has helped tamp down the complaints on Dunlawton is people seeing what's happening on LPGA right now. I hate to say that, but because in some ways it's relative. If it takes me 10 minutes to get to one end of Dunlawton to the other, where years ago it used to take me 5 minutes.
Right.
I don't know what to tell you there, except that, things change, times change. Now, that doesn't mean we haven't made some significant investments. I do think it important, and we recently redid all the medians on Dunlawton. I think it's important that you invest in your business core area and the appearance of it, because those businesses pay the lion's share of the taxes. You want them to be able to thrive, and since they pay the lion's share of the taxes, we all benefit from that. So no matter the cost of those things, they tend to pay for themselves. But then you've got other traffic improvements. We've lengthened a couple of left turn lanes. We've added some right turn lanes. We've got more of those projects on the books. And as we get funding available, we're going to continue to do that. But the big one is that it's finally online, and there's an intelligent traffic light system. Costs $2.1 million. Dunlawton is a state road, but we lobbied the state. The state put it in. It was state road, state funding. And it's making all the traffic lights from the beach all the way out past the interstate. They now talk to each other, and they'll do different things different times a day. Side street traffic coming onto Dunlawton has to wait a little bit longer than it used to, but that's by design. Once you get on Dunlawton, you're supposed to flow better. But the whole idea is that you're not hitting a red light to let 3 cars out, and you get 15 cars waiting for those 3 cars to. We want those 15 cars to keep moving, and if those 3 cars become 6 or 7 or 8, that's the idea. Now, it's an intelligent system, and it's learning as it goes.
Blew my mind right there.
So it will.
Can we dive into this a little bit?
Let's dive into. I want to dive into the Yorktown situation.
Yeah, that whole area.
Why is that light 5 seconds when you're crossing Dunlawton on the weekends? On the weekdays, it's longer. But on the weekend, you're 5 seconds. I mean,
like literally, so you leave.
You're on a side road.
Yeah, but
yeah,
literally,
we're on Yorktown going to Lowe's.
I know. But you sit there for 10 minutes, and then when it goes green, it's 5 seconds, and it's back to red again. Like, wait a second. I waited here 10, 15 minutes. I get 5 seconds? Like, literally, we've seen it quicker than that.
Here's the one for me. If I'm at Nova Road waiting to turn east onto Dunlawton,
right?
I'm facing southbound waiting to turn east on Dunlawton. You've got 2 lanes of turn lanes there, and I might not be that far back, but I might be sitting through 2 light cycles to make that left turn.
Right.
That's the intelligent light system I'm talking about. It's still doing its learning. Some of those kinks will work themselves out over time. Some of them might not. But I tell you what, if I'm on Dunlawton and I get through that light at Yorktown because it's green instead of red, and you're sitting there on the side street, all I have to do is look at you and say thank you.
Right. Well,
I get it. I get it. It ain't perfect.
I got one for you that's not camera related.
It's not perfect.
This one's just a question that is mind-boggling. I know everybody that's listening is going to just, as soon as I spit it out, they're going to jump on it. So let's say you're getting off the interstate, right? You come into Port Orange, and you get to the light where you want to pull into Lowe's, right? The Lowe's at Plaza. Well, it's a no U-turn sign. So all of us that are doing the right thing because we're trying to cross the road there, we're in that lane. But we can't. What happens? Everybody's going to the next U-turn, and they're doing UE, and then you know what I'm talking about. They do the U-turn, and now when they're coming back around, you can't get across Dunlawton because everybody went to the U-turn. You know what I'm talking about? Yep. There's no way to cut the cross. There's absolutely. Why would they do that? They'd put no U-turn here. The next one you can do a U-turn, and you can't cross 4 lanes because everybody's.
I am going to tell you a theory of mine. I am absolutely convinced that state traffic engineers have a sense of humor that I will never understand.
I just don't understand how that's legal. I mean, literally, we've you know. What
So you're saying this is a DOT issue?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a state, and just like Taylor Branch Road, where you can no longer turn left out of there. That was a solution that they put in to because of its proximity to the interstate, and there's some trade-offs. So you go down to Yorktown and sit at that light a little bit longer through a couple of light cycles, unfortunately, but at times. But
that's just wild. The design.
There are things that we can make better, but there's no perfect solution. But yeah, I am absolutely convinced traffic engineers have a sense of humor that I will never understand.
Like literally, you can't get across. So they said, "Oh, I just do the U-turn to the next one," and it's just a mass amount of people.
I wish there'd be motorcycle policemen.
Oh yes.
Right there on Chick-fil-A, because you got those people making those U-turns and that turn where you're not supposed to make a U-turn, right where you go into Lowe's, and people don't care. They go ahead and they make them.
I almost got hit last weekend.
They write a ton of tickets there. Now, you can't put one there all the time because there's obviously other things to do. But the traffic situation, even as we improve, but then we add people, we improve and we add people, we're actually not growing that fast. The last 10 years, there's 16 cities in Volusia County. Our growth rate was 13th.
Okay.
So you would think, okay, we're the 3rd largest city. Daytona's slightly larger. Deltona's larger population-wise. Well, yeah, and certainly we've grown. We all have. But by leaps and bounds the last 10 years, we absolutely have not. Our growth rate percentage in population, 13th of the 16 cities.
Gotcha.
So we've actually slowed down quite a bit. And a lot of people say, why did you approve that? Why did you approve that? A lot of things are built. We don't need, our city council never comes before us. You've got property rights, if it's built to zoning, then they don't necessarily need to come for us, as long as they comply with what's on the books, with zoning and the like. Now, some of the things that we now, contrary to popular proof, when people do come to us for exceptions, we have not approved everything, and our track record will show that that's the case. But sometimes you have an opportunity there. This person needs this, and I do want them. They're going to build something there. I do want them to have a quality project. Would I like nothing to be there in some cases? Yeah, but that's not an option. Mm-hmm. So you have to look at the trade-offs. If I'm getting a better project because I made some concessions, but at the same time, can we get a better fair share agreement so that it can contribute more to the road fund and things like that? Those are some of the trade-offs. Are we able to lessen the density of certain projects? That's been a big criteria. Everybody has a different definition of smart growth. Mm-hmm. It's like, what is smart growth? Well, we don't like sprawl. Okay, so if you don't like sprawl, that really is the one I don't like. The answer to sprawl is, well, we need to build more intense projects and put more people there, and it's going to have an impact on traffic. Well, I don't like that either. And there are always trade-offs, and so sometimes we look for how can we get the best out of this? Can you lower the density of a certain project, or can you increase landscaping buffers? One of the project that's starting the apartment complex that's starting on Clyde Morris near the police station. That was on a controversial 3-2 vote, but we did, and that was one of the two.
Yeah.
I wasn't in favor of some of the aspects of it. I thought we could have gotten more out of it, but they wanted to use Bruner Road, a neighborhood street, as an access point out, and we negotiated that out because they could have done that on their own. I love that butterfly. Yeah. The landscaping buffer in the rear between that project and the neighborhood is going to be significantly more. So there are things that we can negotiate, and even though we don't get exactly what we want, we can get more. And I do think that's part of the reason why this is a safe community.
Right. Yes, it is.
Recently, it was named the second safest city a couple years ago in the state of Florida for a city its size. If the biggest thing we've got to complain about is traffic, I think we're doing okay. I don't like it either. Right. I think we should add a fourth lane just for me at times.
Right. Well, we just need another way in and out is I guess the thing, because
right.
I remember when I was a kid working on Beachside, you could get from Beachside to 95 in 5-6 minutes, and now at 5 o'clock, 45 minutes to an hour at times. I mean, you literally. I mean, now, yes, admittedly, the traffic system, it has helped, but it's. I guess people just have concerns.
When you put a lot of people in a small place,
that's what happens.
And you're going to have, you do the best you can with it, but that's the problem with being popular.
Right.
And I've seen it. I've spent I've done the bridge walk in the middle of the night a few times. That's one way of getting exercise for me, and I'm walking, and it's nice to walk through that part of town and see it quiet for once. But then there's the weekend, you go on the beach side and you want to get back, and I'm like, I've got no magic saucer solution for getting back either. I'm like, man, why are we so popular? Well, we've got a nice community, and
yes, we do.
And now, granted, the beach side is not part of Port Orange, but we are part of the larger Volusia community, and the river is very popular. It's nice to have a high-quality community, and I will accept the challenges of the woes that we have with traffic compared to some of the challenges some of our neighbors have to deal with.
And there's no city that's absolutely perfect in their traffic, I mean, it just goes with the territory.
Who is?
Yeah.
And the people go right now, Granada, they're a 4-lane road, we're a 6-lane road. You go up to LPGA. And
that's a nightmare.
Granada's a nightmare.
You get, and then you come back to Port Orange and go, oh, this wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
It's relative. It's all relative. Or I tell you what, leave Volusia County. Go to Orlando.
Oh, yeah.
No, thank you.
No, you don't.
No. No.
It takes me, like I've said this before, it takes me longer to get to Orlando from Orlando to get here from Orlando. I don't know if you understood what I said.
It's longer to get from one space.
Now, he lives in Pine Hills, so you talk about going from Pine Hills to
east side Orlando. It'll take me longer to get there than it will from my house to here.
Yeah, that's wild. Because it's so condensed. You know, there's so much around. And
my youngest son goes to UCF, so when
he
we
knows.
go over there and
yeah.
and I remember moving him in, and then we were hitting Walmart and Target over there to get some supplies and things. I'm like, wait a second, it's only a mile away. Why is it taking half an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can have it.
Yeah, let me ask you another question that we've got a whole bunch of questions that people have asked us to ask. Do you know of any extension of Clyde Morris crossing Taylor Road by the high school, extending to New Smyrna Beach?
No.
No? Was that a DOT thing, or would that be county or city?
Well, Clyde Morris is a county road.
Okay.
But it terminates. I'm not sure that would ever happen with Clyde Morris extending into New Smyrna, because, first of all, you'd have to extend that through a major residential area, and the cost of that would be ridiculous. But even once you get to Spruce Creek and you cross it, that's the Doris Leeper Preserve, and that nature preserve on the other side of Spruce Creek is sacred. It's sacrosanct. We, years ago, as a city, it predated me, helped acquire that state preserve, so it always would be. And I think that is important with growth, that you have to put up with some things sometimes, but you've got to have areas that are preserved, and
right.
That the Doris Leeper Preserve.
What about Pioneer Trail? We're hearing, and we've seen articles in the paper about the fact that they're going to put exits onto 95 from their access.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. Been working on it for years, actually. I think that would benefit. I understand. Anytime you build something, you always have the concerns about the environmental impact, and somebody will say the impact on the Spruce Creek watershed. That's miles and miles away from the Spruce Creek watershed. There are things that you can do to mitigate that. You're not gonna. People was like, well, that's gonna make more traffic come in my neighborhood. I'm like, if you put an interchange, I'm not gonna want to drive to your neighborhood just because there's an interchange there.
Right, exactly.
But I will be going. There's a lot of traffic from New Smyrna Beach that comes down Williamson now through Port Orange.
Yeah.
There's a lot of traffic from Port Orange that would use that interchange instead of Williamson. There would be a whole lot of traffic relief as you disperse it better.
Yeah.
So there are things they can do to design it better. There always are, and I made some design changes. I think they went to a 3-loop design from a 4-loop design to keep the protected that northeast quadrant better protected. So at some point the state's going to fund it, and it's going to happen. And down the road, the county will expand Pioneer Trail, but and make that more traversable. They did a lot of improvements on the east side. New Smyrna Beach is exploding on the east side of Pioneer Trail.
Yep.
Just absolutely exploding, just like they have over the last decade or so, 2 decades on the west side. So there are a lot of people from both cities that are have to funnel all the way up to 44 or funnel all the way down to Dunlawton to get somewhere, and it would take away some serious choke points. And let's also face it, we're going to have more traffic even if Port Orange doesn't build another house or another business, because our neighbors are. And they're going to come to our businesses, and they're going to come to jobs here in Port Orange. And as you have growth in the area, it adds traffic even to areas that are of slow growth. That's just the nature of it. So we need to plan for that as well.
Right.
Right. Yeah. What can you share with us about the latest graduating class from the Port Orange University Citizens Academy?
Oh, I don't know. There are a couple of people in there that. Port Orange University was the brainchild of our PIO, Christine Martindale, and
she's awesome.
She's awesome. Yeah.
The 4th graduating class. It's Civics 101 on a city level, and I mean, you tell me what you got out of it, because we always want to do better, but we want the people who participate in that get to talk to every department does a presentation. Some of it is road trip. You get to see the water plant. You get to see parts of the city that nobody else sees. And really, to me, it's like you live here, you pay taxes. I love the fact that we're giving you the opportunity to see what you're paying for,
of course,
and see the value that you're getting.
Takes a lot of people that may have questions or maybe hostility, and then like, wait a second, I understand it better now. You know?
And I can't make everybody happy, because those people, well, you shouldn't spend so much on parks, or you shouldn't spend so much on this or that, or you need to spend more on that and less on it.
Yeah.
It's always a balancing act. But
right.
Port Orange University, fantastic program.
Great concept.
Great idea. Great idea. Well, we got some questions that people wrote in that wanted to be asked, have you answer. Audrey, she wants to know, when is the flooding and drainage situation going to be addressed east of Nova between there and Ridgewood?
Beyond what we've already done?
It says,
that's a valid point, though.
She goes on to say, for years, nothing has been addressed on these streets that also do not get swept with the sweeper's truck.
I can find out about the sweeper's truck because we just brought the street sweeping program in-house, and I'm very happy with our ability to go out and sweep a street whenever we have the need, as opposed to waiting for our contractor to do it on their schedule. So that's something.
Oh, so your sweeper truck.
What's that?
That's what you're saying. The
Since
city.
Now that we have two sweeper trucks now in house.
Oh,
whereas
cool.
before that was a contracted service. We brought it in house and actually saved money, and we're improving the service.
Yeah, because
level.
when we're at the YMCA early in the morning, I always see him coming in and sweeping the parking lot.
Cool.
Yeah, let me know the areas there, because we spent about $6 million on Spruce Creek and Dunlot in that area, where when it flooded, it would shut it down for days. Now it shuts down for hours. The Virginia Avenue, Monroe Avenue project's nearly done, with pumps going on down there. We spent a couple of $1 million down there, and we got a number of projects that we've already completed, and with more to come. But if there's a specific area of flooding concern,
we can pass it along for sure.
Yeah, please do, and I'd like to know, so that if there's something that we're missing, or if there's something planned, I'd like to let her know.
Okay.
But there are some aspects of flooding you can't mitigate, because you can't put water in water, and we're a coastal city.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The hardest part of this is everything east of Nova. Well, not everything, but a lot of everything east of Nova Road was built under different building codes, and you don't have the same elevations that are required now of newer buildings. You've got older infrastructure, and we've made a lot of investments, and we'll have to continue to do that. And you'll never eliminate all the challenges. For example, I told you, Spruce Creek and Nova on a major rain, it still floods.
Right.
But we're not being shut down with those pumps for a couple hours as opposed to a couple of days. I'll take that trade-off. I can't make it go away completely.
Right.
But we'll do whatever makes sense. We've spent a lot of money, but we'll continue to.
Okay, great. Well, Audrey is a very concerned citizen. She has several questions here. I'm going to read another one.
Okay.
She's obviously interested in Port Orange and loves it here, so this is not complaining. This is just asking questions.
No, this is what helps us do our job better.
That's exactly right, and that's the purpose of why we're here today doing what we're doing. She says, she asks, the ditch that runs behind the homes on Lex Court is still abandoned and unmaintained, yet I get a brochure about flooding and how waterways should be left clear. It's ironic that there is man-made flooding in non-flood zones, being the ditch is overgrown and doesn't flow right. The opening to Rose Bay is higher than the water level, so the ditch never dries out, breeding mosquitoes year-round. Can the city maintain what we already have instead of creating more problems with this development?
We'll have to take a look at Lex Court. I'll have to take a look at that particular ditch and see what's going on. But if it's ours to maintain, then I'll make sure that we are. If it's not, then we'll find out whose it is.
Excellent. And do you?
We'll stay in touch with her. We'll follow through with it.
Okay, and let her know that we address you. She's probably listening, so that's
do me a favor.
That's good.
Forward that to me. So that I don't forget.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, yeah. That's the purpose of what we're doing right here, is
Amen.
to ask these questions and get this stuff out. That's what we want our program, the Lowdown, to be exactly about. And we have another question from Wanda. She wants to know, when will the roads get relined on Dunlawton and Ridgewood? Or is that a DOT issue?
That's a DOT issue. But, like I said, when you forward that to me, we can find out when the next time it's scheduled. We can hold their feet to the fire.
Excellent. Okay, good. We're gaining here. One other question from an unnamed source. This person, first time I've ever seen anything like this. What can be done to address the drivers that travel well under speed on major roadways?
Is that it? So is that? But that's an
Have you ever heard of anything?
It is an interesting question. I'll tell you this, and that wasn't me that wrote it, but since you wrote that, so there is a law, right? You have to maintain a certain speed because we've all been in that situation where you can't see because there's a guy in front of you, but at the last minute he swerves to get out of the way, and you're going maybe the speed limit for doing 40, and there's somebody doing like 15 miles an hour that you almost smack into him. Like, is that enforceable? I think was the question, right?
Right.
Is there anything to enforce somebody who's going too slow? Is there a law?
I believe there is.
That's what you have horns for.
And I actually did a ride-along with our police department last weekend, last Friday night, and watched some of the things that they do to monitor traffic. Sometimes it's a matter of perspective. Somebody doing 35 on Dunlawton in a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit zone,
Right.
I'll get a little frustrated being behind that person because, the speed limit's 50. I'd like to do 45 to 50.
Right.
But they're not breaking the law, and this is their choice. And albeit the 15 people behind them might not agree with it, but they're not breaking the law.
Okay, but how about this, though? Then this is actually interesting you say that. So at least on the interstate, it's well known that on the left lane is for passing and going the upper speeds, and the right lane is the slower. And I think, yes, obviously you're right. You can't be crazy here. They have their right to go the speed limit they want to go. But isn't there also some sort of, listen, for flow of traffic and for the safety of, if you're going to go that slow speed, you need to stay to the right. Is that something that's enforceable? If an officer sees an 8-car backup because somebody's in the fast lane doing 10 miles an hour,
somebody doing 10 miles an hour in a 50-mile-an-hour
Right.
zone, that's a different kind of hazard. And a lot of times with somebody doing 35 and a 50, it feels like they're going even slower than that.
Right.
But that's a myth that people think. That is a road courtesy. On the interstate, it's a law. My understanding is on city roads, it's a courtesy.
Gotcha.
Slower traffic, stay to the right. And the reason why that is that in-town driving, you've got people, you're going to make left turns and right turns all the time with in-town driving, and they might not be turning left for another 3 miles, but it might be easier for them and their faculties to maintain the left lane earlier. So I would certainly encourage people to know your driving skills, know your driving style. Some of it is just simply style. Know your driving style, recognize your driving style, and be courteous to the other drivers on the road.
Well,
and
I'll say this. It's a good rule I've always grown, that if I have to be somewhere at 5 o'clock, I don't wait until the last minute. I get there a little early. So if we leave a little earlier, we're not so stressed while we're driving. And then I think a lot of these people, so they realize they have only 8 minutes to get somewhere, and they leave 8 minutes till, and that's part of the problem.
My rule for Orlando is if I have to be somewhere at 5, I'm going to leave the day before.
There you go. And you can just take
Orlando
your time.
driving at its finest.
That's it.
Right. Okay, next one. Okay, what can the city do to make Bushman Park safer, with an emphasis on the rough-looking vagrants that sit in the picnic shelters drinking and removing debris that blocks water flow in the canal?
That's something that we are struggling with because Bushman Park is almost a secret to a lot of people.
Yes, it is.
People don't realize what a wonderful, beautiful place
it is. Beautiful, and there are a lot of shady characters there.
We do patrol it, and the issues that you have is those people. You've got to see them break the law to be able to do something about it. You can engage them. Their simple presence is not unlawful, just like yours or mine. You have an open park, and you can. I hate to prejudge people, but sometimes you know exactly what they're going to do before they do it. Sometimes, but until they've actually done it, their simple presence is not illegal. So that's one of our challenges that our police department is having right now. How do we enforce and maintain a safe community without violating people's rights. And that is a terrific balancing act that our officers have to, our men and women have. It becomes such a key part of their job, particularly with the awareness people have of what policing is and isn't at times. And the hard part is that we have human beings behind those badges and shields and guns, right. And they do make mistakes. Right. It's what they do when they make those mistakes to do their job better. I can tell you, I'm fine with somebody making a mistake they can learn from. There are some critical mistakes that never, ever should be made, but one of those mistakes is accepting, we've seen in policing across our country from time to time, accepting the bad behavior of another officer and turning a blind eye to it. That's not something that we will accept in the city of Port Orange.
Yeah, it can't.
It can't, because I think the police officer who comes to work and does his job and does his job well can have his job made a whole lot harder because of the officer who doesn't do his job the right way.
It's true.
And the men and women of our department work very hard. It amazed me. I was out from 6 p.m. till about 2:30 a.m. Friday night after having worked all day. But the adrenaline flow going from call to call to call and issue to issue to issue, as things started to quiet down in the middle of the night, our officers work really hard. It's amazing.
We have a lot. I mean, for a city our size, we must have a lot of police patrol, because I have relatives that come from another city that's north of here, and it's not South Daytona, or Holly Hill, and and they say, "My God, I've never seen a city with so many police officers." Yet, if you go to that particular city, and I go up there a lot to get my hair cut, I very seldom see a police officer.
And honestly, we have one of the lowest officer counts per capita, and sometimes that's the nature of a safe city. Is we have engaged citizens, and we have a well-kept city. We have one of the lowest officer counts per capita in the state, but what we try to do is those officers intentionally are visible. They're not hiding on the side of the road. If they're doing paperwork, they want to be in a visible spot, right. In part so people see them. People coming into a lot of crime in the city is imported from other areas.
Right.
They come here, and we want to be visible to them. So part of how they deploy visibility is a strategy in and of itself.
And it works. I mean, when I was a kid, I never did anything, criminal, whatever, but it was always just with driving even. Driving, make sure you do the speed limit, because it's okay, there's one area you don't want to go crazy, it's Port Orange, because they will get you, and it was very well known that do the speed limit and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I remember in the 80s and 90s, the old saying, "Welcome to Port Orange, you're under arrest."
Yeah.
I think those days are kind of past us now, but the point of the matter is that we have an active police department that does a heck of a job. They do traffic stops. I've seen them do traffic stops, countless traffic stops for reasons that make sense, and most of them are just simple warnings.
Yeah.
You can actually talk yourself into a ticket that you're never going to get.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. When you were doing your ride-along, were the people surprised to see you?
Most of them didn't know who I was, because, and I wasn't saying, "Hey, you're getting a ticket. I'm your mayor. How you doing?" No, no. Just,
don't forget to vote.
Yes. Thanks a lot.
Traffic stops. I'm gonna wait in the police car and see what's going on. Other kind of things. There were a couple of drug arrests. When the situation's secure, I got out to see what was going on, and they were telling me about this. We had one drug arrest that the lady was in the backyard of a neighbor and passed out, and the officer responded, and I waited in the car, and then another officer responded, and I got waved back. She was passed out with a needle in her arm.
Jeez Louise.
And and they thought they're going to have to get the Narcan out, and no, but they got her to respond, and you could tell she's out of it. And they're like, there were 24 needles on the table right next to her and 2 spoons.
What?
And they're like, so they asked her, it's like, how did those get there? Who are those yours? She says, I have no idea.
Never seen them before in my life.
Yeah, although they look exactly like the one that was hanging out of my arm when you found me passed out. But
Who put that there?
yeah,
Somebody must have broken my house and did this.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And the other thing that I learned is how much time it takes an officer off the street after they make an arrest to do it right, to process somebody, and make sure the paperwork's done properly, to treat them the way they're supposed to be treated, and then of course the transfer to the county jail. You can have an officer off the street for 2 or 3 hours at a time after one simple arrest. So
moral of the story is don't do anything stupid.
Hey,
I mean, it's simple.
That would be a big help.
Keep them on the road, right?
live life
Yeah.
the right way.
Yeah. Okay, we got one more question. Okay, and this one has to do with enforcing parking at the Publix parking lot off Dunlawton and Nova. There's a lot of people, and I've seen this, and it's a pet peeve of mine. They'll all park on those parking spots that have the diagonal lines on them, which are right near the stop signs. And the problem with that is when you're coming down to the main thoroughfare of the parking lot, the cars are blocking the stop sign. You don't see it, and you don't stop, and you go out. Next thing, the car's coming, and you got an accident. What can be done to stop these people from using those places as a parking spot?
Well, you have to report it when you see it. For one thing, we can't spend a lot of time patrolling. You can spend hours patrolling, looking for something that happens 5 minutes or 10 minutes out of a day. I'm just not saying that's what this is. So things like that have to get reported when they're seen. The other problem we have with certain plazas like that is those parking lots are a private entity. They're not a public road. So usually it takes a business or one of the purveyors, a business operator in a parking lot to pick up the phone and say, hey, can you help me with enforcement with this? And sometimes we'll talk to them about ways, maybe you need to mark this or do that better, or maybe we can do this for you. So there's a lot of dialogue back and forth, but there will always be some difficulties because, like I said, people forget, I went to Publix and that's a public parking lot. Oh, no, it isn't. That parking lot's owned by the plaza, not the city.
Gotcha.
Oh, wow.
It's not owned by the county or state.
So go to the Publix
isn't-
and management and talk to them. But wasn't there an app that you could anonymously report, like see something, say something? And I saw somewhere. I thought it was locally.
Yeah.
Maybe it's on a broader spectrum, but you could report right through the app anonymously.
We actually are updating our city website, and that app will be rolling back out again soon. But that's sort of a sore spot with me because you can no longer make code enforcement anything now
Anonymously, right?
You can do law enforcement's one thing. You can report those things, but if you're reporting it through the app, it's probably not going to be seen in a timely fashion.
Right.
So and then so-and-so shoplifter or this or that or what. You're better off calling 911. If it's a non-emergency, 911 operator will put you on the non-emergency line.
Really?
You're better off reporting right, and we do have a police non-emergency number as well, but you're better off reporting it through that. If you're reporting it through the app and somebody checks those things hours later, sometimes it's not well timed. The state passed a law last year that made it illegal for cities to take anonymous code enforcement reporting.
Why? That makes no sense.
Right.
It absolutely. It annoys me because it's made my job as mayor a lot harder.
Yeah.
Because now I can't just the neighborhood thing where my neighbor is doing something he shouldn't be doing, but I don't want to end up with a neighborhood problem for months or years afterwards. So if my neighbor is building something and he doesn't have a permit, and a hurricane comes and it blows away, and I end up with debris in my yard because of it. There's all sorts of different reasons why you need to be able to call code enforcement.
Right.
The way it was explained to me by one rep is that they were concerned that businesses were using the code enforcement of a certain city to weaponize against other businesses. And I'm like, while I understand that, first of all, if the other business isn't doing anything wrong, then they shouldn't have to worry about it.
Right.
But this is one of the unintended consequences of that law is that sometimes, and certainly some of it is just convenience. It's like the metal signs you see, the temporary signs you see sometimes, we buy houses or whatever.
Right.
That's a code enforcement violation. And people would go through the app, just snap the address and send it. And then we only have 4 code officers for the whole city. So, yeah, we could use the help.
Right.
We go out there, we pull it up, we're done. Now you got to put your name and your address, and we've made it inconvenient for you to help us.
Don't feel like helping you because it's take too much of my time. Yeah.
And now the flip side of that is if we get an anonymous complaint about that sign, we can't react to that. We see that sign because of that anonymous complaint. We see that code enforcement issue, and unless you got basically can't the discovery of that
Legally?
was illegal, so you basically end up.
What if you
ignoring
turn around
code.
real quick and look back
It's
again?
ridiculous.
That's
It's
dumb.
it's absolutely ridiculous.
Wow.
That's something that I understand why the state did what they did, but I hope that they change it and
I hope
or
so,
modify
too.
it.
You know,
It creates a lot of problems with neighbors.
And it makes my phone ring that much
Right.
more. Hey, Mayor,
Yeah.
can you come see this and you report it?
I think this is an important thing to touch on real quick too, is that because a lot of people they look at certain issues and they think, oh well, the city or the police are not doing. A lot of times their hands are tied. Like, we talked a little bit earlier about the homeless situation, right? The law, and you touched on it too, is
not easy.
But it's not, because the fact is they got human rights and this that. But what about the rights of the business owner that can't do anything about all these homeless people in front of his business? That's his livelihood in that building right there, and he can't get these homeless people that just decide to get, some of them are passed out on drugs, whatever. But because they have rights, he has to live with them in front of their building, and now nobody wants to go to his business. My point of all this is a lot of people want to sit there and find fault with the city or the police department. No, that's not on a state level.
Yeah.
So when you see a lot of these things,
Now we're one of the few brave cities that passed an aggressive panhandling ordinance.
Mhm.
Now, even that has its limits, because what we're trying to do is address a behavior through zoning, and it's kind of a creative approach. And it is to protect our citizens and protect our businesses, and it's not perfect. There are some loopholes, but the first day we put that into play, we approached 6 panhandlers up and down Dunlawton, told them that there's a new law, and 3 of them went home to their homes.
there you go.
Wait a second.
Yeah, they were panhandling as a
One of
career.
them was driving from Brevard County and calling this the money city. And so they drive up here from Brevard County to come
Hold
and
up.
panhandle.
That was their job. They were making money panhandling.
What?
There's people that make $70,000-$80,000 a year doing this.
And
What-
not pay
what?
taxes.
What am I doing a podcast for? I gotta go.
Right? I mean, seriously, it's crazy. It's
Good luck.
mind-boggling.
It's not legal in Port Orange
I don't know what
anymore.
you're talking about.
Nope.
Do you happen to know what, if any, restaurant will be moving into the Mellow Mushrooms old location?
I've heard some rumors. The motel there, the town
Country Inn and Suites.
Country Inn and Suites, may be looking at it. It's a shame. I think that one. I think Tomoka Brewery. They've been replaced by Persimmon Hollow.
Mm-hmm.
There are a number of restaurants like that I think were COVID casualties, where they were closed down, but when they reopened, the state did not allow them to open fully, and their business was managed down because of it. So they used shorter hours, they used shorter staffing, and everything that played into that. All of a sudden, a very profitable, viable business interest. They didn't come back to the way they were before.
No, and that's sad.
it's a shame. It's sad. That's a wonderful location, albeit a little bit not as visible on Dunlawton as some of the others. But hey, you don't need to. If you've got a great business and a great restaurant, you're easy to get to, people will find you. And they did before COVID. Something else will go in there.
You know what they need? We've talked about this before. The type of restaurant that would go fantastic there? An Italian restaurant, like a real Italian restaurant. Because there's, we have a chain one, right? But like a real Italiano
Right.
type restaurant could go.
You mean like Mario's in Ormond Beach,
yeah,
something like
not,
that,
not
independent.
necessarily a pizza joint, but like a real Italian.
Lord knows we got enough Mexican restaurants coming in here.
We do have them all over.
They're all over the place.
There are a lot of people that have not been to Giovanni's on the west side of town yet.
Yes.
And there's a couple different reasons for that. One, they haven't discovered them yet. They're wonderful. And the other reason is every time I go there, they're too busy.
and that's right out there on the other side of 95, across the street from Publix.
Wonderful, wonderful place.
Good. Let's go.
You just
We'll
got
try
he's
it.
got
I'm
to let
glad you
people
told me
know
that.
he's there.
There's
That's
some
the only
wonderful
problem.
Italian there. Trust me.
Right. Excellent. Well, this hour has flown by, and we still have a lot, but we're not going to be able. We can't hold the mayor here all day, all night, and all month. So we're going to do this again because this turned out to be an excellent idea. I love the idea that we're bringing and having discussions like this with the mayor. But there's one thing I want to address, and I want to say this because I noticed that more and more in this country we're becoming anti-government sentiment, and I'm really tired of it, folks. These people are taking their time to become a part of the city, to run for office, to become a councilman, a senator, a representative, or whatever. And despite what you see on some of these cable networks, these people are not all bad, and they're there for you. Don't forget, the government is you, for the people, of the people, by the people. So we need to get off of this kick that the government is not any good, because I'll guarantee you, if somebody comes to your house and tries to rob you, you'll be calling a cop, and that makes you a hypocrite. So don't do that. Get behind your representatives. Utilize shows like this to ask questions, to get the information. We'll try and get back to you as best we can to get you this information. The mayor's been very gracious in coming here, and he's answered every question we've asked. So I'm just letting you know. As a citizen, I'm just not happy with this anti-government sentiment that I see everywhere.
We got a city election this year. Come on out and vote in August.
That's right. This is your chance to vote.
And if you have any questions that you would like us to ask on future podcasts, any concerns, info@beldencommunications.com. That's info@belden, BELDEN, communications.com. We'd love to get those emails.
And before we sign off, we've got to make some more money here. So why don't you tell the folks about this fantastic venue?
Once again, guys, Riverside Pavilion is located directly on Halifax River. With the picturesque riverfront location offered by Riverside Pavilion, this location offers the most romantic backdrop for your special day. Exchange vows on the Sunsplash deck with the sound of waves gently breaking against the banks. Following your unforgettable ceremony, you are welcome to move your party inside, providing a space for a more elegant affair. Some highlights you should know about Riverside Pavilion are it seats up to 200 people. Table setup and breakdown are done by their staff. There's a fantastic sound system, 2 bar areas at your disposal, a projector and a screen is available. Outside caterers are welcome. Bands and DJs are welcome, so bring them all with you. Guys, book your date early at 386-761-8122 or visit theriversidepavilion.com to book your reservation. It's a great place, great venue, and we're happy that we had our podcast here today.
Yeah, this is very enjoyable. Got a real nice breeze here and everything.
Absolutely.
I'm just really enjoying it. Want to do another hour, guys? Just kidding.
Let's
do it again, just not today.
Yeah. Right. Mayor, thank you so much with giving us your time to come here and answer all these questions. I'm sure we've got a lot of citizens out there that are listening based upon the questions that came into us. And we're going to do this again real soon. In the meantime, if those of you that are listening have more questions that have not been answered yet, please send them to us. We will get them to him, even if we got to drive over to his office and hand them to him. This is a man that wants to know the concerns that you have, and he's a guy that gets things done. That's why he keeps getting reelected, and he's doing a great job at it. So we want to thank you so much, Mayor, for coming again. And John, thank you for a great job you did.
Thank you.
Phil, for sitting over there and producing the show.
Yep.
And we'll see you in the next month.
Next month.
We'll be letting you know on Facebook and other platforms that who our guest is going to be.
Stay tuned for our next guest. And until then, guys, enjoy your Friday. Have a great weekend.